What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host, and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker, Jeff Marconette Jr. I am so pumped up to say that each and every freaking time I say it. Also, I am excited because tonight we are going to be learning all about how she rebuilt her aligned purpose on season 10, episode 23. What? Season 10, episode 23? That's nuts. But so I ask you guys if you would please share this episode out. Invite as many people as you can to watch it because you never know whose life we are going to be able to change or even save. So also keep the thumbs up, likes, frowning faces, cry faces, hearts. You can even get mad at us. I don't care. But just help us trick the algorithm on one of the socials that we're on. Also, keep the comments coming. We want to make we want to have more of a conversation than just make a presentation. But with no further ado, I would like to bring to the stage tonight's guest. Hey, how are you, Shelley?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here this evening. I know you're super busy with tomorrow's exciting news, which we will get to later in the show. But
Yes, I am.
I want to leave you guys on a cliffhanger here at the beginning of the show, so you stick around for the end of the show. But if you would like to take it away, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do, that would be absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you so much. Again, my name is Shelley Meche'tte, and I am from sunny California. And what I do is I show my fellow faith based woman how to confidently balance life and business without sacrificing herself, without sacrificing her health, without sacrificing her peace.
That is great. I happen to love that. So I need to give a quick shout out here. So we have Robert Broker who is watching. He says hello, Jeff and Shelley.
Hi.
So he lives in Canada. So this is an international show already. And then we have Ben Bruce of Fane Chris, or I don't know. His Ben Bruce. Ben Bruce Chris, he has a Fane on it usually, but he doesn't right now. But he is actually from Nigeria, but he is watching the show from the Seychelles in the Indian Ocean. So,
Wow.
hello, guys, and I'm happy you could join us tonight. And I'm sure that Shelley is here to rock your world. So, I have to say that during my life, I experienced a wicked car accident at the age of 17. I spent 2.5 months in a coma, three
Mm,
and a half in the hospital. They
wow.
told me I probably wouldn't walk again. I had a traumatic brain injury, which I still fight with every day today, every day. But
Mhm.
the thing is, I walk,
Yeah.
I talk, I live a great life on doing things like this and speaking at schools,
Mhm.
and speaking to corporations, and writing books and all
Yes.
kinds of stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do before my accident. But you see, I had to grow through what I was going through in
Mhm.
order to do that thing that I am doing now. So, has there been anything in your life that you have had to grow through?
Oh my gosh, absolutely, Jeff. I am growing through it right now. I'm still growing through it. Tomorrow is May 27th, and tomorrow will be my 1 year anniversary of surviving 3 strokes in one day.
3, 3.
Three in
That,
one day, in
that's
just a matter of hours. And so
wow.
when you ask, is there anything I'm growing through? I'm still growing through that. I'm still growing through um sometimes thoughts, don't connect as well all the time. I'm still growing through that. I'm still growing through this new world of medication, how medicine makes me feel. I'm still growing through having to stop every day to pressure check several times a day. I'm used to getting up and leaving and going and not worrying about certain things. Medication is attached at my hip right now. Life looks a little bit different right now. Being able to speak sometimes, the thoughts don't come right now. So I am in that process currently of growing through.
You know, I experience a lot of the same things. You see, I had a traumatic brain injury, which I mentioned
Mhm.
there when I was telling a little bit about my story. So, a traumatic brain injury and a stroke kind of work the same way. In fact,
Mhm.
not all, but some strokes, I believe, I'm not really sure about this, but I think well, I know that some strokes cause a traumatic brain injury.
They can,
And
yes.
and do they all cause a traumatic brain injury or not?
There are different levels, and I'm not a medical expert, but what I can say is in my personal experience, when I did have my second stroke, that is when my speech was impaired. And so I've even by the time I left the hospital, I was speaking, but even with that, there's still a process that I personally go through sometimes when things just aren't really connecting, or it seems like my brain is moving a little bit faster than my mouth is moving, or I can't really catch up with the thoughts. So I don't know if that's across the board. I know many, many people are left with their speech really being affected, with their body being affected. I went completely numb on the left side of my body and across my neck. So I really thought that I was going to be paralyzed. But even though I can walk, and praise God for that, it's still sometimes my left side, my leg really will give out, or I can feel the nerves, they're very tender, or there's a lot of buzzing, that will go on in my foot, or I can't stand too long because that side will get weak. So there's some what I call some residue. There's still some residue that hangs on, even though, as you can see, praise God, I can speak, I can think for myself, and I can walk, but there's still some of those things that pop up, as time goes on. So that's why I say, yeah, I'm still growing through.
I have a friend named Tracy Ward who she had a kid at a very young age, and the kid was born with some disease.
Mm,
And they found out early in the pregnancy that the kid was like this. They said that the kid will have major difficulties in life, and we
mm.
don't expect you to keep this kid.
Oh, wow.
And they said it'll make your life extremely hard caring for a child with special needs. And
Hmm.
she said, you know, that's fine because I can do hard. And that is something that I am shown with you in your story, that people can do hard,
Yes.
that
Yes.
we're more capable than we actually know of. And
Yes.
people, everybody out there, including you, including me, we are stronger than you know, than we
Absolutely.
know.
Then we know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think that I learned. I always felt like a strong person. I always felt like a strong person emotionally. I'm a person who's hardworking. I like to work. I see a goal, I map it out, I reach goals. And this really showed a vulnerability within me. And so, even with me believing that, I am a pretty strong person, I didn't know that I had this kind of strength in me. I didn't know because I went through the ringer. I went through a lot of anxiety. I went through a lot of tears. I had several trips to the hospital, even after my initial release from the hospital. And so, when you go through certain things, you really can at some point feel emotionally like just giving up. It becomes a lot. It becomes what you feel is too much. But by me being able to walk through this process, by me being able to lean on my faith, I really did find out greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. I had to lean on something that was not me in order for me to walk through. And that strength was given to me during this time because of my faith. So, yes, I did find out a lot about me and that I am a bit stronger even than what I thought I was. But I also found out about my spiritual relationship and that I was able to lean on that in a deeper way and a much a heavier way than I've ever done before.
And what exactly do you mean by leaning into it in a heavier way?
Because I grew up in the church, so I already grew up with a sense of Christ and who God was, and I already had my own relationship with Christ, but I've never had to take moment by moment to allow him to take me through each and every part of this. I would go to sleep at night in tears. I couldn't sleep because I was scared of the night. I had panic attacks. I couldn't breathe. I had trips back and forth to the hospital. I had pressure that was 190 over 100 each time. All throughout the day, I had this overwhelming sense of fear that I'm going to die, that I won't be able to breathe, that people won't be able to save me. And so I just had this overwhelming fear. So I had to lean on the fact that God loves me each and every day. I had to repeat his word to me each and every day. I had to sleep with music that was worship music that was feeding my soul. And I had to be deliberate about this. This wasn't a wake up and, oh God, thank you for this day. Help me, Lord. No, this was a pressed in every moment of the day, tears dripping, asking God to catch my tears and to hold my fear and to help me lean on him, to help me believe that he loves me and that he's going to carry me through. It was a moment by moment thing, but it put me in a position to trust God in a way that I don't think I've ever trusted him before. I literally had to trust him with my life. Literally.
Wow, that's insane. So I happen to know what that is like, having to trust people with your life, because like when I came out of my coma, and I remember one night I was sitting there in my hospital room with my mom, and I didn't want to go to sleep. And I remember her asking me why I didn't want to go to sleep. And I could only speak one word at a time at this time,
Mm-hmm.
but I told her that I didn't want to go to sleep because I didn't know if I would wake up again. I
Mm-hmm.
Because I laid there for 2.5 months, not talking, not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything, not even really being there. And
Right.
I didn't want to be like that again. So I didn't want to go to sleep. So
Wow.
I can relate to what you say.
Wow.
So, all right, let's. What was the most difficult thing that you had to deal with right at first, right after the
Mhm.
strokes?
I think the most difficult thing was losing me or parts of me because like I said, I've always been in control. I've always been able to, I'm gonna create the scenario. I'm gonna walk in the scenario. Just the simple, easy thing of just getting up and going. That is such a privilege that we take for granted. I couldn't just get up and go. I was gripped, and I think that was the hardest thing too. I was gripped with panic attacks every single day. I even remember my mom, she said for me to come and stay with her after my strokes because she didn't want me to be by myself. And I remember it was probably close to a month out, and I had a doctor's appointment. And so my mother dropped me off at home. And after the doctor's appointment, I sat at home waiting for her to come back. And I think it was my daughter who was there. And while my daughter was there with me, she was supposed to leave to go to an event. And when I thought about her leaving, I began to go into this full panic, and I couldn't breathe. And I was sitting on the couch, and I was trying to talk myself through it, and I couldn't breathe at all. And I began just trying to, take small breaths, and everything around me started to get dizzy, and I started to get lightheaded, and I began to become nauseated, and tears just began to flow down my face, and I just couldn't stop it. And I just began hyperventilating and sweating, and my daughter's going, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I just could not grasp anything. And she had to cancel her entire day so that she could stay and be with me, because I would just go into these very horrific attacks where I literally thought I was going to have a heart attack. And then I would think that I was going to go into a stroke. And then I would think that I'm just going to die right here. And it was just constant. And I think that was probably the worst thing coming out, because I didn't really realize how much fear and anxiety and panic had been placed on the uncertainties in my life. And so having no control at all of my body, I couldn't control anything that went on with my body. What happened, happened. What was going to happen was going to happen. So I had to figure out a way to work with myself, work with my emotions, work with my body to try to calm myself so that I didn't end up literally, probably accidentally killing myself, because I was always in a panic 24 hours a day.
That sounds really hard too. I mean,
It was horrific.
I know a lot of people have panic attacks, but they're different strengths, obviously, and that sounds like a really strong panic attack.
Yes. It was just horrible. It was anxiety, times infinity for me, because again, you're looking at someone who I've never had this before. We all get anxiety, in certain times in our lives, certain seasons in our lives, but I've never had a point where I'm just experiencing this all day long. As soon as the sun begins to set, I can no longer breathe. And then because I was holding on to the idea that I had to protect my family, I didn't want to be a nuisance to my family. I didn't want my family to have to worry about me. So I was taking on another level of stress and internal responsibility that I probably didn't have to take on, but I just didn't want to be a burden to them. And so I was compiling all of those things on top of that, on top of the fear, on top of the stress. And so I had a mental stress, I had a physical stress, and my emotions were just everywhere, and I just couldn't balance everything. I just couldn't.
Wow, that sounds really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that you had to go through this, but if you had the choice, which I know you don't, but if you could go back and not have those strokes, would you do that?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Yes, I would go back and not have the stroke. But here's the thing. I wouldn't be the person. If I could make it to the person who I was now without having to go through the experience, sure, I'd love to, but that would never have been. I feel grateful and honored that I am in a position to tell my story and to hopefully present it in a way where it's helpful to someone else, where maybe somebody can see themselves in me. Maybe somebody is going through something and they'll be able to look at me and say, okay, she walked through this same thing. Healing is possible. I would have loved to been able to have this testimony without everything that I went through. But the reality is I wouldn't have this testimony without
So,
everything I went through. So would I like to have had the strokes? Absolutely not. But because I know that they are a part of the process, I'm grateful that I'm on the other side and that I can share from that place. I don't think any of us, well, I'll just speak for me. I don't like the journey that I went through. So if I could have made it any other way without that, I would have opted for it. But I am grateful to God that being on the other side of it, I can be a witness and hopefully an example for someone else, and a motivator for them to know this is not the end. There is more to your story.
there's something that I know to be true, and that is the obstacle that you went through is why you are the way you are now.
And yes,
So,
absolutely.
so I like the way you talked about it. That no, you don't really care for the journey of how you got to this place, but you're so much more grateful now that you got there. So I,
Absolutely.
I'm wondering that. So you're blessed to have experienced the strokes. And that sounds weird.
I know, but I get what you're saying though. It's like, do I want strokes? No, but I'm so grateful to God for what has come out of the experience. So hopefully that part makes sense. I the fact that I'm able to be on this side. So would I really want to go through it? No, but at the end of the day, was it worth it to go through it, to be where I am, to be the person that I am, to now have the different mindset, the closeness with God? Was it worth it? Absolutely. Would I want it? Not necessarily, but it was 1000% worth it to be where I am right now.
Yes, that is powerful because a lot of people go through all kinds of things,
Hmm.
and then they just focus on that problem. And like I said, they don't grow through it. So
Hmm.
they kind of just stay in
And
it.
get stuck,
And
huh?
and then they're just wondering why this happened to me.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
they shouldn't be asking why it happened to them. They should be asking, what is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? How can I use this to benefit myself in the future? And that is something that you have highlighted a lot on this show. And I like that.
Thank you. And I don't think I've ever asked, why did this happen to me? Maybe I felt like it. I don't know. But I was such in survival mode that never really occurred to me. Like, why did it happen? But I was so pressed into, where do I go from here? What do I do with this? As you're saying, I was so pressed that way. Lord, carry me through. How am I going to get through? What are the steps to make it through? That I don't think I ever really had time to really say why this happened to me. I was really trying to figure out, how can I position myself to the best of my ability, and with my health, what are the things I can do happens. And sometimes there's absolutely nothing we can do. We are going to go whatever season, sometimes because that's just what we're going to go through. But if there is something that I'm doing or something that I can do to help prevent certain things, I was just more focused on that and the healing that I needed at that time.
That's one of those things that you were focused on what you could control and not
Hmm.
focused on what you couldn't control. And
Yes.
that is a very powerful thing that people learn how to do in life. So I have to ask, because we're running short on time here, but why is tomorrow an important day to you?
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited because tomorrow, you guys, it is my 1 year anniversary of surviving 3 strokes in one day. In a matter of and releasing my book exactly 1 year after this experience. I'm releasing my book about the entire experience and what happened that day. We get a perspective of 5 other people, which are my family members, and their view of what they saw and how it affected them. So I'm really excited about it.
That is awesome. But I have to ask, Shelley, how can people get a hold of the book?
Yes. Well, you can actually get a hold of it on my site. So you can go on there and you can grab it off of my site. Tomorrow, you'll be able to grab it on Amazon. God Said No, or by just putting in my name, Shelley Meche'tte, and it is going to be there for you. And also tomorrow, I will be dropping a special book release price. So, you might want to get on there tomorrow.
Woo! A special book release price. So if you guys go to Amazon and look up Shelley Meche'tte, and I will put that here in the chat, spelled the right way as long as I can do it. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. So I put that in the chat. Search for her tomorrow, and you will be able to get her book and help her out because her story can change your life, maybe even save your life. So I want you to remember that, but also, Shelley, do you happen to have any contact information you would like people to have?
Absolutely. I would love to stay connected with you, and we can do that through social media. I'm on Instagram under my name, Shelley Meche'tte. You can also stay connected with me on my website. There are gifts on my website, free downloads on my website that you can have on there. And we can stay connected on Facebook as well. So, all across social media, I am Shelley Meche'tte.
All right, and what is your website one more time?
Yes, it's www.shelleymechette.com. I like to keep it simple, y'all.
Yeah, and is there a hyphen in your last name in the site address?
No, just straight shelleymechette.com.
All right,
So no
cool.
accent in it, just straight.
All right, awesome. Well, we appreciate simple.
Yes.
All right.
I like to keep it simple.
Well, hey, Shelley, you have to do me a favor, and everybody out there has to do me this favor too. You have to make every second count.
Yes.
Why? Because you never know when those seconds are going to be up on your one life.
Hmm.
I'll see you guys back here next Tuesday for episode 24 of season 10. But until then, you have an excellent week. Thank you again, Shelley. See you
Thank
guys.
you.